Bonjour à tous. Bonjour Shanti. Good morning, everyone. I just want to introduce Mark Milton. He's the founder of Education for Peace, a Swiss foundation around education and also sport. And he's also the co-founder of the Spirit of Humanity Forum in Iceland, a forum for leaders, and Heartfulness is a partner of this forum since 5 years now. Mark Milton est le fondateur d'une organisation qui s'appelle Education for Peace en Suisse, qui travaille notamment dans le domaine du sport. Il est également le cofondateur d'un forum qui s'appelle le Spirit of Humanity Forum en Islande. Et Heartfulness est partenaire de ce forum depuis 5 ans. Il va donc être en conversation maintenant avec.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming to Europe and see us before going to America.
Like this is
It was a great honor, also a pleasure to be in Kanha and to be invited to the Global Peace outside.
Yes, you were there.
I was there.
Oh, wonderful.
It was absolutely wonderful and very, very inspiring. As CET was saying, I've been involved in the field of peace for over 20 years. But that event was truly inspiring because having so many leaders, spiritual leaders from different faiths, different backgrounds, all come with the same message, whatever our beliefs and backgrounds, that we first need to all work with our own inner peace. If we want more peace in the world. It was a very, very powerful message.
Thank you. I also felt it was a miracle and an extraordinary step that happened for the first time, actually, where leaders of almost 500 spiritual organizations, religious organizations, agnostics as well, they were present and we exchanged ideas on how to go forward in establishing peace, starting with self and expanding it globally. The main thing was that how can we attain a global peace without an individual peace? And how to attain it, because just by lecturing people what peace is, instead of make them experience peace, then magical things can happen. So once you make them experience peace, they will want more and more of it. Same thing with children in the field of education, where before we begin the school and at the end of the school, they go through relaxation just for 3 to 4 minutes. That settles them in the class. They become more centered and focused, so they can pay attention better. So there is a high level of receptivity during the class, during the school times. So we have to start with children first and also show them the ways of intuitions, right? I'm sure you must have seen that also at Kanha. So we do firmly believe that global peace is not possible without individual peace. That's the underlying message of the um, global spiritual Mahotsav.
As Sylvie said, we've been partners since 5 years with the Spirit Humanity for Iceland.
Oh yes.
And we've had 6 events now in Iceland. And the vision being to bring leaders, just like we did in Kanha, to share. Of course, the event we're doing is much smaller than the 70,000 plus people that were in Kanha. But we bring 100, 150 leaders together to share about their values, how they put them in practice, and especially share their personal transformation. And I was thinking that we done little baby Mahotsavs in Iceland, and you suddenly did this big event, and having the president of India and the vice president who also meditate
Yes.
support this was very important and inspiring.
Well, we can request him to join in Iceland and see if such individuals, like-minded people can come together. The leaders who share the similar values, they can be invited, and then small islands of peace can be created, oases of peace.
When we started the Spirit of Humanity 12 years ago, we didn't want to use the word spirituality because in our part of the world, it was, I would like to stay still. I think we're in a different world today, but it was still a very delicate word to use. But today the world has changed, and we can talk more openly about spirituality, which of course go together with peace. And,
Definitely.
and there's actually 3 things I wanted to explore with you this morning and hear your vision. And one, I thank you, you've already talked about, which is youth and children, the future generations, those who will be here in 20, 30, 40 years. And the seeds we are planting today for them to serve in the future. The second I'd like to express with you is sports, because I've been doing my best to bring sports, peace through sports for quite a few years, and I know that you are also inspired by sports, and you know it's just like Nelson Mandela could see it is a powerful space to bring more peace and change. And at the end, I would like to share a little dream with you, which you've already started, of how can we bring Mahotsav to Europe and work together to make this become global.
Okay. Do we have a video thing here? We can play Phil Jackson's video if we have. Is it possible to hook up video here? On the screen? Okay, so meanwhile, we talk of youth. We talk of having a global spiritual Mahotsav in Europe and sports. How to incorporate sports in daily activities. There are a lot of studies about sports education and becoming of that young person at the end of it. What I have learned from these research papers, the children engaged with sports activities, they excel in life. They may not score big in education. They do fairly well, but they're immensely successful in life altogether compared to people having A plus or distinction in school. But somehow, without these sports, this education in educational excellency somehow doesn't work out. When you see the overall picture of a successful person, sports is very important. In sports, when we see there is coordination, there is cooperation, there is sense of sharing, there is a sense of sporty competition, which these are all required in our day-to-day life, whether you are a business person or a salesman or a teacher. Now, when it comes to grooming the youth, there is no better way than make them look within, seek the answers from inside, from their own heart, from the beginning. When we are young, up till the age of 13, 14, our senses, our neural pathways, the right brain and left brain coordination is pretty well intact. Once we cross this age, this connection starts. So if we can inspire children how to retain this coordination between the right and the left brain. See, if I can demonstrate something to all of us here, most of us are 30, 40, 50 plus, and I can guarantee you, all of us have lost that right brain, left brain coordination. And I can prove it. Okay. What happens to a person whose right brain is paralyzed or had a stroke? Right brain damage will affect the left part of the body, right? And the left part of the brain, when it is under stroke, left part, then the right part of the body will be paralyzed. You understand this much? When you want to raise these two fingers, try to raise it. See, it is the left brain working. And when I say raise these two middle fingers, it is the right brain working. Now, what is meant by coordination? No, you're doing it wrong, the middle two. No. See, these two and the big finger and your ring finger. This is index finger and the big finger. This is big finger and the ring finger. Okay, you got it? Now switch it. Try it. That is called right brain, left brain coordination. You can't do it. But if you practice daily, you can regain it. Try it. You will be able to improve your brain health even when you are on a toilet seat. Keep doing this. You will learn something. You will exercise your brain. And that right brain, left brain coordination will be well established after some practice. Then you can do other activities that can enhance this coordination. We have trained more than 1.2 lakhs children to go through these activities. And here also in France, Some activities are also going on, but in a very selective way. A few children have learned all this, and they are able to do amazing things. For example, you can close your eyes and read with fingers, or you can read with smell, for example. That's what they call trans-sensory perception. Unfortunately, our team is not prepared for all this to showcase it, but we can arrange for a meeting since you're in the field of education, and we can partner very intensely in this engagement, where a child can retain this ability even after they cross the year 15. This thing can also help in sports. We have a child who is now 20 years, but he started doing this activity from the age of 12. He's a champion in India with this archery. You know archery, right? The bow and arrow. He is able to shoot the center with blindfold. You can turn him around, you can move the object to be shot. He'll precisely do that. And this is out of that intuition that triggers the mind and that triggers your activity. So through these brighter mind activities, we can enhance cognitive and intuitive abilities amongst children. Second thing, I have already included in sports and with this brighter mind activities. Because when you learn intuition, or when we develop, or rather cultivate intuition, retain this intuition, and be cognitively available, then your sports activity will be also enhanced through a lot of training. There will be a difference between people who are naturally endowed with, the sports. But you can develop this ability and add on with the intuitive abilities as well. What was the third thing?
Well, maybe just before we go to the third,
Okay.
it's sports. What I'm finding very powerful in the world of sports related to the work we're doing here with our inner peace and cultivating daily our inner peace. It's how do we bring this inner peace into our everyday life, in our way of interacting with our brothers, sisters, adversity, challenges. And I'm finding that sports is actually a perfect pitch to practice, because you have adversaries, you have opponents. The whole question is, what is my attitude towards the opponent? Do I want to do my best and respect the opponent, or am I ready to win at any cost? And I find the parallel between that in sports and what we live in our daily life interesting. So to build the inner peace, to bring this in our sports activity and daily life.
Peace is also, it's a product of success. When you have completed your task, for example, even simple things like cooking at home for the family. When you have finished cooking, you are at so much of peace. Oh, I have finished my task today. Whenever we have completed our work that was at hand completely and with excellence, there will always be peace. It is only when we shortchange ourselves, when we terminate our work haphazardly halfway, that we build stress, unfinished tasks. Sports, unless it rains, it will continue. Right? And you can't blame the rain for disturbing your sports. But sports is always, whether you win or lose, there will be peace. When you run, even running alone, after half hour of jogging, you'll find yourself. Because there too, left alone to yourself, jogging or cycling or playing music, it grants us so much of peace. Because that has given you your space. My throat is not doing well, see.
So maybe the other topic we can have a look at is leaders. How to bring more peace in leadership. How can and so what was brought at Mahotsav in Kanha? How can this spread and create? Because I think you started a movement with the government, and of course India with its history, and where spirituality is part of the history. It's very different here in Europe. Talk about peace and spirituality when we talk about politics or economy, and how do you see the possibility to spread this?
I think we have to start early from school times. Culturally speaking, spiritually speaking, of course, there are some differences. But all human beings, whether you're from Africa, Europe, or North America, or any part of the world, everyone has a potential to grow spiritually. You have the example here. There are people who have been meditating for more than 50 years in this group. The families, they continue. The tradition continues. That child who has experienced some level of peace at school is always going to remember that so and so has taught me how to meditate, how to go inside. So sooner or later, they will try, when they also have their children, they also say, look, my child, you learned this also, I benefited from it. They may meditate or they may not meditate because of circumstances, but they will ensure, tell the children, please do this. So I'm very optimistic about the whole. Whether we involve spirituality or not, that's a side thing. Whether we call God who gives us life or not, we have life. Life is going on. That something exists within me. I don't know what it is, but that gives me life. Same thing is with you. That entity that gives you life is with you from the birth. And it will be part of you until that entity leaves the body. Whether you call it God or you call it spirit or you call it soul or a life force. The name does not matter. Likewise, whether you call it spirituality or godliness or divinity. It really does not matter. Call it I am being centered into myself. I am being drowned in love or cosmic love or cosmic consciousness. Name really does not matter. I want to experience that peace. That should be our motto. And only when I am at peace within myself, only then I can enjoy the possessions or the wealth that I have. This, even when you have the wealth, if you are not at peace, you cannot enjoy it. You will never be happy. So peace is the fundamental requirement also to become happy. It is the background. Peace is the background on which we can be, or rather, peace is the background with which we can be more creative. A person who is restless, disturbed all the time, we call them mental cases. They cannot be creative. If at all, it will be accidental. So peace is a fundamental to human existence and for prosperity of all and moving towards the higher level of evolution. Peace is mandatory. It's fundamental requirement. If it's ready, you can play that. Okay. This is something how meditation and sports can, rather how meditation can enhance the sports. Can you see it? That despite having Michael Jordan, who was possibly the greatest basketball Hall of Famers of all time, the Bulls didn't start out as winners. One of my favorite NBA moments in the 1991 championship game, Bulls versus the Lakers. In the final few seconds, Michael Jordan had the ball in his hand. When he had a shot, he would usually take it. But this time, he realized that John Paxson had the opportunity for a three-pointer. So he let go of that opportunity and passed it on to John Paxson. They have mastered your mind. And that's also the only purpose of it, mastering your mind. Whether you win or you lose, you are.
Thank you, Daaji. Everything was said.
The next video is about how to enhance this intuitive abilities and also improve compassion and this idea of sharing.
And empathy. Check these kids out. They don't even need their eyes to tell you what color or what number. How amazing is this? Their brain must be working much, much, much faster and much better than ours. With just 30 hours of training, these kids have rewired their brains. That's all it takes, just 30 hours of training. Imagine the power of their brain. I found it extremely fascinating. Just log on to www.brighterminds.org and let the whole magic unfold. The Brighter Minds program is available in 10 countries and over 30,000 kids have already enrolled themselves into this program. This is not a promotion. I'm just telling you to try it out because it's something very cool that I came across and I'm in awe of how these kids use their brains.
Dear Daaji, dear brothers and sisters, I have the privilege to introduce our special guest today, Mr. Philip Müller-Wurz, which is the Chief of Sport to UNESCO. I'll say just a few words to introduce the context. In 2014, the United Nations declared the 21st June as the International Day of Yoga. And under Daaji's initiatives, the Heartfulness Yoga Academy created Yoga for Unity initiative with several other yoga organizations over the world. And we did a similar initiatives in Europe and in the French-speaking countries. This year, it is the 10 years anniversary of this day, and we are creating in partnerships with UNESCO and with the permanent delegation of India to UNESCO, a huge event from 14 up to the 23rd of June. And in this context, I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Müller to come and say a word.
Good morning. You put me on the spot. This was not discussed before, but I will be trying to improvise. Everything we heard this morning, experienced this morning, is something UNESCO wants to see broader in the world, because the right to be well with your body, the right to have a healthy body or a healthy mind is something that everyone in the world should be enjoying. And UNESCO has been promoting the participation in sport, physical activity, physical education as a fundamental right for everyone in the world. And this right, unfortunately, is not enjoyed especially by the young people, and you have said it all, by the young people who need to learn to be well in their bodies or being well in their minds. And we miss this opportunity all over the world. Why? Because certain forms of discrimination prevent people from participating in sport, especially girls and women. And also because we discourage young people from practicing sport in their early ages because we are only looking at competitive sport and not at the joy that young people should have in practicing physical activity and sport. So very often in schools we filter the best and we forget about the 19% of young people who are not necessarily really competitors, but who could be win for sport for their lifetime. And this is replicated in sports organizations around the world, where again, the focus is on competition and not on the joy of participation. And to change this, we have launched 2 years ago a program that is called Fit for Life. That's again all about what you have said earlier. It is about using sport as a very powerful tool for people to be resilient to many challenges they now face in our world. And we have created this in the context of the COVID-19 crisis, when we have seen that governments around the world spend billions of dollars to recover, but almost nothing to make people participate in sport. And yet, as you said, we do have data and evidence that shows that participation in sport is a very powerful tool to build social, emotional, and physical resilience. And so this has to change. UNESCO is an intergovernmental organization with 194 member states. And our role is a very special one in sport. We're the only United Nations organization that has a very specific sport mandate. So we advise sport ministries around the world. And we share good practice. And I'm glad to say that India is on the way to become a model when it comes to understanding the power of sport for their population and using this power more systematically across this large country. And we want to see this all over the world, but it is a long way still to go because decision makers perceive sport as what they see in the media. So they see well-funded, very well-funded competitive sport ecosystem, the NBA, Olympic Games, Champions League, and they say, why would we give money to something that has already so much? And so we have to work on the misconception of what they see in the decision makers see sport to be. In terms of, you have to look at the bottom of the pyramid, because this is where the real impact of sport actually occurs. So it's nothing against elite sport, which has a very fundamental role in inspiring millions of billions of people. But our focus always has been UNESCO, the bottom of the pyramid, participation in sport by everyone, every day if possible, because it's just thinking about better lives and more peaceful societies. So we're very glad to see in this context, this is actually a model of how to understand and to implement this power of sport. And I'm very privileged to be here today with you. And we hope on the occasion of our event in June to promote this synergy between spirituality, cultural diversity, and sport as a very powerful soft power that actually should become hard power in terms of policy attention. Thank you.